Breakfast at 9. This Thursday, the 23rd of May 2024. Rapid development. Economic transformation bill aims for rapid development, insists President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Measures to be taken to stabilize National Security Council. Restructure. Government expects $100 million from the sale of Hilton Hotel Colombo, says Urban Development State Minister. Plans announced to complete Hyatt Hotel with the use of Treasury funds. Alliances. Sri Lanka keen on joining the BRICS group. Foreign Minister Ali Sabri says committee appointed for recommendations. Cabinet decisions. Government embarks on a strategy to develop a tourism hub in the Chilau Iranavilla area.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
This is Other Derana First at 9 with Indivadi Amuwata. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
And a very warm welcome. You're joining us on this pious Vesak full moon power day on Other Derana 24 as we bring you the very latest from across Sri Lanka and around the world. And Derana is carrying out Sri Lanka's largest dansal at Independence Square, Colombo 7, currently a 24-hour dansal. We will bring you visuals of the dansal currently happening at the Independence Square area in a short while. But before that, we'll take you to your headline-making stories tonight. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says the Economic Transformation Bill, which was presented to Parliament yesterday, comprises provisions for the achievement of rapid development and the reduction of poverty in Sri Lanka, which are essential to solve current economic and social crisis. Addressing an event in Battaramulla, the president was of the view that the country cannot move forward without transforming the economy into an export-oriented one. Speaking further, the head of state added that steps will be taken to legalize the National Security Council as recommended by the Presidential Commission of Inquiry that probed the Easter Sunday attacks.
The inauguration of the headquarters complex of the Sri Lanka Ex-Servicemen's Association was held yesterday under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
I expect to introduce the Special Protection Provisions Act. As recommended by the Presidential Commission that probed the Easter Sunday attacks, the National Security Council will be legalized. Measures will also be taken to appoint the Armed Forces Committee. Additionally, we will establish the Sri Lanka Institute of Strategic Studies, which will offer military tactics education to the armed services, the retired and to civilians. This initiative will coincide with the ongoing restructuring of the security forces. We reach agreements with the IMF and later we breach those conditions. If the government in power at the time does not breach conditions, the successors will do that. The IMF said that it is impossible to develop this country without taking steps to make the country's economy export-oriented. The country needs to be developed to solve these problems. As a preliminary measure, the conditions agreed upon with the IMF will be drafted into law. That is what we call the Economic Transformation Bill. This bill has two important elements, which are rapid development and the reduction of poverty. We are aiming to develop the country starting next year and then to improve incomes of the people.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
ජීවිතේ හැම තැනකදීම ස්මාර්ට් වෙන්න පොලිය විතරක් ගෙවාගෙන යන්න CDB Smart Draft.
Minister of Foreign Affairs Ali Sabri meanwhile says Sri Lanka is looking forward to joining the intergovernmental organization BRICS, and a cabinet subcommittee was appointed to make recommendations in this regard. Foreign Minister Sabri also said that Sri Lanka would like to work with all countries. However, any reasonable concerns regarding Indian security will be taken into note. His remarks came during an interview with an Indian news agency.
During an interview with Indian news agency ANI, Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister Ali Sabri, who highlighted that India's march towards economic glory is good for countries like Sri Lanka, said that the island nation is looking at a lot of investment from India into ports, renewable energy and other infrastructure, which makes it a win-win situation for both nations. The Sri Lankan Foreign Minister also stated that the government expects a visit by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Sri Lanka, accompanied by a powerful business delegation, which will further strengthen the relationship between both countries. Further, Foreign Minister Sabri said that Colombo would like to work with all countries but added that reasonable concerns regarding Indian security will be taken into note and the government will not allow anyone to harm that. When quizzed on India's concerns regarding the visit of Chinese research vessels to Sri Lanka, Ali Sabri said that Sri Lanka would like to work with other countries in a transparent manner but not at the cost of others. While highlighting that Sri Lanka should consider BRICS seriously, Foreign Minister Sabri also expressed Sri Lanka's keenness in joining the BRICS and added that the cabinet has appointed a subcommittee to look into that and recommend the government.
State Minister for Urban Development Arundika Fernando assures that the government will not sell any state-owned enterprises at values that are less than the official government valuation. Addressing a media briefing, Fernando said that the president has sent instructions to obtain at least $100 million from the sale of Hilton Colombo Hotel. Further, the State Minister said government plans to complete the remaining construction activities of the Hyatt Hotel in Colombo with the use of state funds. The Hyatt building began construction in year 2012, utilizing $60 million in public funds sourced from Sri Lanka Insurance, the Employees Provident Fund and Litro Gas Lanka Limited.
Hilton Colombo is a state-owned entity. Through the introduction of an investor to this entity, the government is planning to strengthen the treasury and operate the hotel as a major entity in Colombo. Both local and foreign entities were allowed to place their bids. Out of the bidders, a few were shortlisted. Through the sale of Hilton, the president expects to obtain an amount that is higher than the valuation of the government. Our stance is that the government should obtain at least $100 million from the sale of Hilton. However, the president gave clear instructions not to sell this entity at a value less than that. This instruction is applicable for state entities as well. Public funds worth $60 million have been spent so far for the construction of the Hyatt Hotel in Colombo. The funds are obtained from the Litro Gas, Sri Lanka Insurance and the Employees Provident Fund. The project consists of debt worth $35 million. A valuable piece of land in Colombo has been given to this project. This hotel is located in a tourism hub close to the US Embassy. We will not sell this hotel at a value that is below the government valuation. If we could not get a proper investor, the president instructed us to complete the remaining portion of the project by using treasury funds and with the support of the tri-forces.
රජයේ භාණ්ඩාගාරයෙන් යම්කිසි මුදලක් මේ හයට් හෝටලෙට වියදම් කළා ඒ හයට් හෝටලේ යථාවත් කරගන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
The Pottuவில்-based hospital will be taken over from the Ministry of Health of the Eastern Province to develop the medical tourism sector in Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, government has decided to develop Iranavilla and Chilao as tourist attraction areas to gain benefit from the Bingiria export processing zone that is being upgraded. With that, here's a look at some other decisions taken by the government at this week's Cabinet media briefing.
The Cabinet of Ministers have given its approval to take over the Pottuவில்-based hospital from the Ministry of Health of the Eastern Province and to maintain the hospital as an integrated health institution in the southeast region by including all necessary facilities to promote the medical tourism sector. The decision was taken considering the current demand for health facilities in the area and the desire to convert the hospital into a basic hospital providing integrated health services with paid ward facilities for tourists, preventive care services, elderly care services and Ayurvedic treatment facilities for tourism. The Cabinet of Ministers also approved to develop Iranavilla and Chilao as tourist attraction zones, to construct a golf course in Chilao and to connect the Iranavilla tourist zone to the Bingiria export processing zone by road. The decisions have been taken to maximize the benefit from the Bingiria export processing zone, which is now being upgraded with industries and investment zones, public facilities, access roads, by-roads and other relevant infrastructure facilities. In another decision, the Cabinet has agreed to a proposal to renew the tripartite agreement with the government representatives and Checkport City Colombo Private Limited, extending the project completion by 2 years to June 2027 from June 2025. The decision has been taken upon a request by the project company, as it has communicated the inability to complete the project by the envisaged date due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the financial constraints of the project company and the inability to generate sufficient income to fulfill obligations to the creditors. The contract to the installation of the second underground cable from Keralapidiya Grid Substation to Colombo Port Grid Substation has been awarded to the consortium of Jiangsu Eaton Co Limited China and LS Cable and System Limited in Korea as recommended by the cabinet-appointed Standing Procurement Committee. The construction is essential to provide electricity for essential commercial energy needs for port city development, port terminal development projects and large-scale mixed development projects in the Colombo metropolitan area. Several estate companies have claimed through representations that the daily salary hike for estate workers that was declared by the government recently cannot be paid. Considering the circumstances, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the resolution furnished by the President to look into the impact of the economic crisis on the estate workers and appoint a committee to probe into the capability of each estate company in regard to the payment of estimated salaries and to cancel lease agreements for lands that estate companies fail to pay salaries due to mismanagement. Meanwhile, joining the Cabinet briefing today, Cabinet spokesperson Dr. Bandulu Gunawardena commented on the new bills presented to the Parliament yesterday.
If Sri Lanka does not align with these bills, whoever comes into power will not be able to run the government for more than 2 weeks. As a country, we must give assurance to the international community that the repayment of debt will be done in a particular way. If these bills are not passed, all those who vote against them must bear the individual and collective responsibility for the chaos that the country will go through. We will take responsibility only if these bills are passed and a guarantee is given to the international community.
Buddhist devotees in Sri Lanka and across the globe celebrate the Buddhist festival of Vesak full moon Poya today, commemorating the birth, enlightenment and passing away of Lord Buddha. Despite the heavy rainfall to several areas in Sri Lanka, devotees were seen engaging in Buddhist religious observances since early today. Meanwhile, the state Vesak festival was held this morning in Mathale.
Vesak is the most important Buddhist festival which marks the birth, enlightenment and passing of Siddhartha Gautama or Lord Buddha. During Vesak, Buddhist devotees engage in religious observances, partake in chanting of Pirit and meditation, reflecting on the Buddha's teachings. Buddhist devotees island-wide visited temples to observe rituals despite heavy rains. This year, 419 Vesak zones and 321 Vesak pantheons are set up across the island in light of the Vesak festival. Meanwhile, this year's state Vesak ceremony was held at the Dharmaraja Piriven Vihara in Mathale this morning. President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was scheduled to grace the festival, joined virtually due to the adverse weather conditions. The period from May 21st to 27th has been declared as the Vesak week. Emphasizing the global significance and unity in celebrating the sacred occasion, this year's State Vesak Festival is attended by Buddhist monks from 12 countries.
We must give more attention to Theravada Buddhism. Today, the world is moving away from superstition and is directing its focus towards science. Technology is changing our way of life, which has remained unchanged for centuries. We are to face several issues with the development of artificial intelligence. These challenges may not pose obstacles to those who adhere to Theravada Buddhism. Solutions for these issues can be found. Therefore, it is imperative that we concentrate our efforts on safeguarding Theravada Buddhism.
නියම හරය ආරක්ෂා කරන්නටත් අපේ අවධානය යොමු කරන්නටත් ක්‍රියා කරන්නට තිබෙනවා.
Meanwhile, in his official Vesak message, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said Sri Lankans must treat everyone equally and ensure to put it to practice as a country. He also said, regardless of race, religion, caste or political affiliation, all must unite to heal and rebuild Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena in his Vesak message said Sri Lankans must work in a society guided by the four sublime status of kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy and equanimity as outlined by the Buddhist philosophy. He further said the middle path or Madhyama Pratipada is meaningful in economic planning and development. In the meantime, opposition leader Sajid Premadasa in his Vesak message said Sri Lanka will be able to achieve global renown through fulfilling the path revealed by Lord Buddha. He also said a society disciplined by the teachings of Buddha is supreme and went on to call on the Buddhist devotees of Sri Lanka to celebrate Vesak with faith and wisdom.
Sri Lanka's largest Dansal, organised by TV Derana in lieu of the Vesak full moon Poya Day, opened for public a short while ago. The Derana Dansal will be open for public for 24 hours around the clock until 8 a.m. tomorrow.
Sri Lanka's largest Vesak Dansal, organised by TV Derana, opened for the public at 8 p.m. today. On the way at the Independence Square, TV Derana's Dansal will continue for 24 hours around the clock. The Derana's Dansal received the support of the Professional Chefs Association Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka Air Force, Colombo Municipal Council and the Ministry of Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and local government.
We have to engage in religious activities such as providing alms during the day of Vesak full moon Poya. As Derana, we thought we should organise alms for all Sri Lankans. We organised Sri Lanka's largest Dansala with the support of our office staff. A huge crowd has already arrived at the premises. We are happy to see that.
Sripa Satkare project of Manusad Derana of TV Derana, aiming to clean the Sripa, the holy premises, was held for a fifth time this year. The initiative of Manusad Derana, the social responsibility arm of TV Derana, supported this time by General Sir John Kothalavala Defence University students. About 1,500 students participated in this cleaning program along with the members of the Manusad Derana initiative. The cleaning project was launched along the three main routes that lead to the Shripad, which are Hatton Nalathanya, Kuruvita Eratna and Ratnapura roads. The Met Department forecast showers and thunder showers to several areas of the island for at least a further 48 hours. 2 lives were claimed in separate incidents related to tree collapses in Hangvalla and Puthram, bringing the total number of lives lost during the monsoon season to 6. The National Building Research Organisation meanwhile advised residents in a number of districts to remain vigilant on possible landslide conditions.
The prevailing southwest monsoon conditions persisted today, bringing heavy downpour to several parts of Sri Lanka. The day's heaviest rainfall of 104.6 millimeters was recorded from the Wattavela area in Nuwara. 2 lives were claimed in separate accidents related to tree collapses in Hanwalla and Puttalam, bringing the total number of lives lost during the monsoon season up to 6. Meanwhile, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara remarked that the Ceylon Electricity Board had reported over 36,900 power outages in the last 3 days due to the inclement weather conditions. According to the minister, the CEB has deployed additional service staff to attend to the breakdowns. In case of power interruptions, consumers are requested to lodge complaints by either calling or sending an SMS to the CEB hotline 1987 or through the CEB Care mobile application or the CEB official website. The Meteorological Department forecasts that prevailing showers and winds will continue during the next 48 hours.
Very heavy showers, about 150 millimeters, are likely at some places in Sabaragaon provinces and in Kandy and Nuwara district. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters are likely at some places in western and northwestern provinces and in Mana, Gaul and Mathura district. Strong winds of about 50 to 60 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over western slope of central hills and northern, north central, western, southern and northwestern provinces and in Trincomalee district.
The Met Department also issued a warning stating that sea areas extending from Mana to Potterville via Colombo, Gaul and Hambantota will experience strong winds of between 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. As such, those engaged in naval and fishing activities are advised not to venture into the seas until further notice. Subsequent to the current inclement weather patterns, the National Building Research Organisation extended landslide warnings to several districts.
warning level 2 alert amber warning was issued to Sitawaga Division Secretary Division Colombo District, Matukuman Bula Single Division Secretary Kaltara District, Kiriella, Alapata, Kalavana, Ahliagoda, Ayagama, Purvita, Ratnapura, Imbulpen, Balangoda Division Secretary Division Ratnapura District, Ampukumu Korle Division Secretary Munoreli District. Warning level 1 which yellow warning was issued to Aldumulla, Badulla, Haputale, Haliala and Ella Division Secretary Division Badulla District, Paduka Division Secretary Colombo District, LPT and Nagoda Division Secretary in Gold District, Atharangala Division Secretary in Gampa District, Palalavita, Horana, Dodangoda, Agaravatta, Ingiri and Palindano Division Secretary Kaltara District, Udunuvara, Udapalata, Gangahira Korle, Ududumbara, Yatinuvara, Pasbaya Korle, Kandi Pogravit and Gangavata Korle Division Secretary in Kandi District, Dehiovita, Budat Kovitia, Mavanella, Ruanwell, Yatiantota, Varakapola, Kegol, Galigamua, Deranigal and Aranaika Division Secretary in Kegol District, Alawa, Polgahavela and Naramala Division Secretary in Kunaga District, Kotmale Division Secretary in Noreli District, Kahavatta, Nivitigala, Palmadula and Opanaika Division Secretary in Ratnapura District.
The Terrorist Investigation Division and intelligence authorities have apprehended a suspect who is thought to have aided the 4 Sri Lankan nationals who were apprehended in Ahmedabad under suspicion of being affiliated with the ISIS. Also in other stories, a 33-year-old individual was arrested for impersonating an inspector of police of the Criminal Investigations Department and demanding 25,000 rupees from a woman over a phone call, claiming that he is investigating alleged murder charges levelled against the woman. The suspect was arrested in Kadavata yesterday, and a forged ID of the CID was also seized in his possession. With that, let's take a look at other local news in brief.
A fire was reported from a private factory in Chilo yesterday. The fire had destroyed buildings, machinery, as well as productions of the factory. In Polonnaruwa, a wild elephant died after coming into contact with an electric fence that was illegally put up to prevent elephants from entering into a land. It was later revealed that the elephant was aged between 10 and 15 years. In the meantime, a father-son duo were reported dead after being electrocuted by an electric generator. The 2 individuals had been operating the generator inside a room in order to support power to a Vesak Dansala in Pupurasa.
Welcome back. We take you to some business news. The Indian government is reportedly in discussion with the Sri Lankan government on acquiring graphite mines in Sri Lanka. According to Indian media reports, graphite features on the list of 30 critical minerals which was released by the Indian government last year, and the demand for the minerals is on the rise as it is used in lithium and other types of batteries. Recent announcements from the Indian government stated that the public sector companies in India, such as Coal India, NMDC and ONGC Videsh Limited, will start actively scouting for critical mineral assets overseas. According to the reports, discussions are currently at the preliminary stage. Also, it is reported that India is currently in discussion with Chile about getting access to copper and lithium mineral assets in Chile, which are important components in rapidly growing clean energy technologies, including wind turbines, electricity networks, and electric vehicles. The International Monetary Fund yesterday announced the approval of $164.6 billion or rather million in funding for Rwanda to strengthen its economic resilience against future climate shocks. The package includes $76.2 million from the Resilience and Sustainability Facility and $88.4 million through the Standby Credit Facility. The IMF said that going forward, the policy mix should prioritize macroeconomic and financial stability, fiscal sustainability, and the restoration of buffers. Rwanda's real GDP growth exceeded expectations in 2023, reaching 8.2%, and key drivers of this growth included the services sector, construction, and recovery in food crop production despite severe floods. The IMF recommended that the Rwandan government adopt a carefully planned fiscal strategy to mitigate the impacts of last year's deadly floods ensuring sustained economic stability and growth. And that wraps up tonight's edition of First at 9 on Derana. I'm Indivadi Amuatta. Good night.